You hear the word Goa, and what do you think of? For millions of people, it's pretty much a synonym for paradise. But what if I told you that whole postcard image is hiding something? Something powerful and surprising, and honestly, a little bit paradoxical. Well, today, we're going to peel back those layers to find the Goa you really don't know. No, really, just take a second. When I say go, what's the very first picture that pops into your head? Go on, lock it in. I'm guessing it's something like this, right? Miles of coastline, palm trees swaying, maybe a nice cold drink in your hand. And look, that is the global brand of Goa. It's the ultimate place to just chill. And you're not wrong, but that picture, it's like seeing one single puzzle piece of a 1,000-piece puzzle. It's just a tiny, tiny part of the real story. And this is where that postcard image gets completely shattered. This chart shows wealth per person. So that bar on the left, that's the average for all of India. And that massive towering bar on the right, yep, that's Goa. It is one of the richest states in the entire country, with a GDP per person that's more than 2.5 times the national average. So the big question is, how did India's smallest state become such an economic beast? This is what we're calling the Goa paradox. It's this place that sells relaxation and leisure to the world, but behind the scenes, it is a high-powered economic engine. So how in the world did this happen? How did this tiny little strip of coast become so successful and so unique? Well, to figure that out, we have to jump in a time machine and go way, way back. You see, the real secret to what makes Goa, Goa, isn't just in its economy today. It's buried deep in its history. A history that took a completely different fork in the road from the rest of India for almost 500 years. Okay, so the Portuguese show up in the early 1500s, and they stay for 451 years. That made it the longest-running European colony in India by far. But here's the absolute game changer. In 1947, when India finally gains its independence from the British, Goa does not. It stayed a Portuguese territory. Just let that sink in for a second. For 14 whole years, while the brand new Republic of India was figuring itself out, Goa was still basically a little piece of Europe sitting on the subcontinent. It wasn't until 1961, after a quick 2-day military action called Operation Vijay, that Goa was finally integrated into India. This long, separate history created this kind of time warp. It meant that Portuguese culture, their laws, their way of doing things, it wasn't just a layer of paint on top. It all fused right into the bedrock of Goan society. And that fusion, it is the master key to understanding why Goa is so different today. Right, so if all that money isn't just coming from tourists on the beach, then where is it coming from? And that brings us to the second piece of our paradox, the real, hidden engines of Goa's economy. I'm pretty sure if you stopped 100 people on a Goan beach and asked them what the state's biggest export is, they'd say things like cashew nuts or the local drink, Faini, maybe fish. And they'd all be wrong. The answer is high-tech medicine. Yeah, seriously. One of the biggest drivers of Goa's incredible wealth is a massive pharmaceutical industry. Tucked away in this tiny state, you've got major companies making sophisticated medicines that get shipped all over the planet. It's a quiet, industrial giant that's just hiding in plain sight. And this chart just lays it all out. Look, tourism is obviously important. It's about a quarter of the economy. But it's completely dwarfed by industry. You combine pharmaceuticals and mining, and you're looking at the powerful backbone of the state's economy, generating the kind of high-value wealth that tourism alone just can't. And this is where it all clicks together so beautifully. The other big piece of that industrial engine is mining. Goa is full of minerals, especially this reddish stone called laterite. Well, what do you think they built all those iconic, colorful, beautiful Goan Portuguese houses out of? Yep, that exact stone. The wealth from under the ground was literally used to build the culture you see right on the surface. Okay, now we get to what might be the most mind-blown part of Goa's identity, its legal system. Because of that historical time warp we talked about, Goa operates under a set of laws you will not find anywhere else in the entire country. It's a total unicorn. It's called the Uniform Civil Code, or UCC. Now, in the rest of India, when it comes to things like marriage, divorce, inheritance, there are different sets of laws for different religions, but not in Goa. In Goa, there is one single code for everyone, no matter your faith, and it's a direct legacy of the Portuguese Civil Code from 1867.
And one of its most incredible features is this thing called communion of assets. Basically, in Goa, the moment you get married, you and your spouse automatically become 50-50 co-owners of everything. And I mean everything. Property you owned before you got married, stuff you inherit later on, it's all split down the middle. It's a legal guarantee that a spouse is an equal partner from day one.
The code also locks in economic security for kids. Parents in Goa actually can't write their children out of the will. By law, they can only freely decide what to do with half of their property. The other half, it must be divided equally among all their children. Sons and daughters get the exact same share. And then, on the complete other side of that formal legal structure, you have this: 7,000. That's a rush estimate of the number of licensed bars in Goa. It's just a wild statistic that points to this deep-seated social liberalism, a legacy of that European history that's been put on steroids by modern tourism.
So, let's recap. We've got this one-of-a-kind history, a powerhouse economy hiding behind the beaches, and a totally unique legal system. So how does all of this invisible stuff come together to create this stunning, visible Goa that people fly across the world to see?
Well, you can see it everywhere once you know what to look for. Take Dudhsagar Falls, this incredible sea of milk. What's that cutting right through it? A railway line, a symbol of industry, slicing right through the raw power of nature. Those famous colorful homes we talked about, built from the very stone that fuels the mining industry. Even the gorgeous, glowing windows in old houses, made from translucent oyster shells, are this perfect blend of using local materials with a colonial design idea.
And just when you think you've got Goa all figured out, it hits you with another surprise. Did you have any idea it's home to the only naval aviation museum in all of Asia? It's got these incredibly rare aircraft, and get this, it has exhibits on Operation Vijay, which connects this modern high-tech museum right back to the very moment Goa's unique story finally merged with India's.
So when you boil it all down, what even is Goa? It's not just a beach. It's this fascinating, complex paradox. It's a paradise that's funded by pharmaceuticals, a super laid-back vibe that's governed by some of the most progressive laws in the country. It's a modern Indian state that was completely shaped by a 451-year-long European time warp.
Which really just leaves us with one final big question. Is this incredible mix of social liberalism, economic strength, and legal unity just a total fluke of history, something that could never be repeated? Or does Goa, in its own small, unique way, offer a tiny glimpse of a different kind of model for the future? Now that is something to think about the next time you picture that beach.